Welcome to lesson on 124. We're going to make a maze. We're going to put some doors in there, going to put some barriers, going to randomize it, and then we got a runner going through the maze. That's a lot, but let's start. So the first thing they ask you to do is to make just like spiral, kind of like starting the center, and then you're kind of spiraling out. This kind of make like the foundation of the walls of the maze. So we got to brainstorm ideas. Now, a few hints that they give is maybe you want to figure out the number of walls you want to do. Maybe start from the center and go out. You probably have to do some kind of for loop. So if you're starting in the center and you got to loop out, you probably have to have for loop or a while loop. Either way, kind of works. And give it your attempt on doing this first before you just look at answers. So pause the video if you haven't. But you've already paused this. Let's go. So I'm starting fresh. What I'm going to do is say, hey, how do I start a program again, right? I'm going to go back to what I did. I'm not going to look at what I've already created. So hey, remember we got to import this random stuff from last time? Okay. Importing a turtle, and remember at the end of the screen we have this loop if you're setting up something and you have to do what's the other part? Turtle screen. I'm not even going to add the rest. So I need to have these two lines, right? There. I'm importing turtle. So I like setting up this program. Ultimately, you're going to make a maze. I like the idea of doing like you have your configuration stuff off stuff right up here. And then let's set this up as this is going to be the functions right there. And then this is going to be your do stuff here. All right. So any kind of configurations there when you have to do functions eventually, I like kind of structuring this a little. So, okay. So if I need the walls, I need to make a turtle. So I want to go to, and then you're like, how do you make a turtle again? Didn't I just close that program? I shouldn't do that. So let's call it, this is going to be the walls of the maze. So I'm going to call it walls dot, I think it's turtle, no, walls equals turtle dot turtle. Just like that. That sets up a wall. So I have a new maze. And if I just hit run right now, it's just going to start me in the center. Okay, good to go. Just making sure. Now, the idea is I want to start in the center and I want to loop. Now, if you look at that wall in that picture, how many times you want to loop? I've counted the walls and I counted 25 walls. So, I'm gonna put this all in the do stuff right here. So I got to do a for loop and that's going to loop 25 times. All right. So one thing we learned is we can do for I in range 25. This is one way to make this happen. This will loop 25 times, counting starting at 0 through 24. It's a good way to do this. So what I want it to do is you're going. So if I'm even going to sketch a maze right here. If I did it on my screen, I want it to go like up. So you're kind of like doing this kind of spiral, right? I'm doing it way too big. So the idea is I want to go up a little bit and then rotate to the left and then go farther and then rotate to the left and then go again. And you're rotating to the left and then going again. And each time you do a wall, it should get a little bit bigger. So, okay. So I'm going to say, the first thing I'm going to do is walls are going to, rotate left. So I'm going to go left, 90. I know that's going to be in there, right? And I got to draw the wall. So I want to go how to draw the wall and go forward. I can go walls dot forward. And okay, how much do I want to go the first time? And then you go like 10 the first time maybe, and then oh wait, gotta add to it. And then thinking, wait, I should have a variable in here. So I'm gonna make one and call it my walls length, my wall length or whatever. And then what are you gonna start off? Like your first wall? I don't know, maybe I make it 10. You might change, you might go bigger. And I'll probably change this as I go along. So wall length, right? And then each time we iterate through this, we should to that. So I'm going to go walls length plus equals. How much do I want to add every time? Let's see what it looks like with 10. And then let's see what this does. All right. Oh, there it goes. So it did it. It drew a spiral. Now, a few things in here. I probably wanted to fill this whole thing up. I'm probably going to need that. So, and I don't think I like, that looks really small. So I'm going to make my starting one. Let's make it 20. And then I want this to go bigger. I'm going to go to 15. See what that does. Again, your choice, how you want to set this up. If you like it smaller, keep it smaller. And that's it. All right. Oh, sweet. That filled up the screen. That was convenient. Good job. So I like this. This at the start, if you think that's too small, you can do this differently. You want it to look, maybe you want that first length to be 30. I don't know. What would that look like? Maybe it's not too small. But would this mess up everything else? I don't know. Go outside my screen a little bit. So I'm gonna say 25. I probably could resize things. I don't want to bother. Okay, I'm gonna deal with this. This looks good to me. Yeah, okay, let's hit the edge, that's fine. So there, I've made my spiral. I've got that down. That's the first part. So remember, if you're doing it, need this stuff at the bottom, import at the top. I'm gonna put configurations. So hey, a spiral. You want to start it differently? Go for it. Doesn't matter. The idea is that we have this loop right here, and that's how I'd go. That's how I'm gonna go forward right here. All right. So, I mean, if you wanted different colors, change the colors. Sure. Now, one thing we maybe don't want this turtle at the end, drawing it. So what I'm going to do is say walls dot hide turtle. Wait, turtle. That. So that should hide the turtle because I don't want to see it at the very end. I may not even want to see it while I'm drawing. I don't know, but I'll leave it in. Just I kind of like that as I'm setting up. So here's the first part that gets confusing. We got to add, so we've drawn our spiral. What we're going to be adding is we're going to add some doors. What they're calling doors in this lesson. And doors are just like a white space. Like that's a door. Doors are basically just a hole in the wall for it to go through. So it's not actually like swinging out. But we're going to be adding doors just kind of like this all over. And then there's this idea of barriers. Now barriers would just be like a wall like that, but straight, not crooked. So these barriers. And then so this will start off, we're just going to put them in, not putting them in randomly. We're going to put them in with a pattern. All right. What's that pattern going to be? How do I erase everything? Clear screen. All right. But if you're following the lesson, the problem is on right above step 4. Is it, I'm looking at it right here, is it talks about adding doors to this maze, so the openings. And then step 4 asks you to brainstorm barrier walls. That's confusing. I think they messed up. I think that barrier talk was supposed to happen like after the doors, like around where it says add barriers, step 6, step 7. And so that confused me. And then they give you an algorithm per door. Okay, so ignore that. I'm going to tell you what we're doing. We're going to be creating doors. And we're going to follow this rules. If you look in step 4, that we want to place the doors about 10 pixels off from the edge of the wall. So if I were to draw this right now, and I really wish they would give me a picture of just drawing it, right? So 10 pixels off might be like, okay, you're drawing like 10 pixels up, maybe it's, oh gosh, no. That's not what I want. I want it to be white. Okay, and that, just trying to use this. And maybe like 10, so corner, 10 pixels off, door, 10 pixels off, door. So you kind of look like this. And it would keep going, and so on. So you're kind of getting this kind of pattern, right? And you can see it. I mean, it'd be 10 pixels off from everything at this point. Yeah, right? Oh, this is easier. You just 10 pixels off, boom, boom, boom. And it just does this kind of stuff, right? And I think it would be over here too. So the idea is, I mean, 10 pixels off, you might see a kind of pattern going on, but that's what we're going to create. So how do I do this? And I think what you have to do, oh, I can't draw a line. I have to buy the full version. Well, I'm not doing that yet. I'm seeing if I like this first. So I'm going to do some math right up here. Let's pretend that's a straight line, right? And we're going to start like right here. This is where we start. Now, I want to go, the idea behind all this, let's do the math because we have to change this algorithm for it. I want to go forward 10 pixels. So I'm going to go forward 10 pixels. Start here, go forward 10 pixels. And then at this point, I want to have a door. So then I'm going to go forward to some length. We're going to call this my door. And then I want to finish the rest and end right here. And then this is going to be more wall. So that's the idea. So I like drawing this out, so realizing what I have to do. And let's call this is going to be the whole wall. And you have this whole wall length. So let's think about that through our algorithm. So changing this up. I don't want to go through the full wall, right? And if you follow this lesson here, they give you a hint in step 5 with the pseudocode. And they go forward 10, do a pen up, pen down command, and then they do path width times 2. That's weird. That's just saying what I don't call it path width, call it door width. In fact, I'm going to make a variable door width. Okay, or door length. Door length makes more sense. I don't know why you call it width. That's length of the door, right? So I'm going to call this, how big do I want my door to be? They give you a suggestion. I don't know. I'm going to call it 10 for now. I'm going to call it 15 because it's going to be big enough to get my turtles through when eventually I make the maze. I think 15 will work. So when I'm drawing, here's how I want it to go. I want to use that door length. I want to go forward 10. So I go walls dot forward 10. I should take a screenshot. I'm not going to bother. You can go back in the video if you need to. So go forward 10. And then I want to do a walls dot pickup. You can do PU. And then I want to go walls forward, say door length. So the benefit of making this a variable is if we need to change this later, if we use door length in multiple spots, because you will later on, probably, this is one spot to change it. And then I have to finish the wall. The weird thing to me is, okay, well, what's that length going to be? I don't know. Oh, wait, I have to go pen down. And then finish the wall. I don't know. I'm kind of curious what this looks like. So I'm just going to run this. Let's see what happens. Let's clear this. Let's see what this looks like. Maybe this works out. Okay, so it looks like it's kind of working out. You might say, mission accomplished right here. Now, maybe you say, oh, I want my door to be bigger. Maybe you look at that and go, maybe I have the holes bigger. Or not. I'm just going to leave it like that size. Make it bigger, go for it. What's ending up happening is how last time your wall length, let's say, okay, I'm going to do the math. Before our wall lengths, the first one was 25, and then it went up, added 15, so 40, and then 55, and then 60. I love drawing on the screen like this. And 75, then 90, right? Oh, 90, right? Okay, what are the lengths we're doing right now in this new version? So you might want to map out the math here. Well, my first one is not going to be 25. It's going to be 10 plus 15. It's 10 plus this 15 plus 25. So I'm at 10, 15, 25, 15. That's going to be 50. And then my next one is going to be adding 15 every time. So 65, because that's all I'm changing, right? So, and now notice, and that kind of made this first part bigger. Now my question to you is, do you want that to look like that? Maybe you do. Maybe you're okay. I mean, everything's kind of too big now. It went off the screen, so I'm gonna definitely have to change things. But you're gonna come up, so your choice here. You might say that I'm gonna make these length changes smaller because I don't want to deal with it. And we can just change this length right here. And you just have this big old starting spot. Doesn't matter. Go for it, right? Maybe I like that better. So I'm going to show you a different option. Maybe you don't want to have those walls. Part of the problem is I'm for the first few steps, I'm doing doors. But maybe for the first few segments of wall, I don't want doors. Do I want to do it that way? No, I'm thinking, well, I'm going to try it that way. So here's not, because you're going to have to do this later. What I'm going to do is maybe for my first few segments, my first segment, I'm not going to do this whole batch of stuff. But for the other ones, I will. How would I do that? You can do ifs. So I can say, if I is less than 1, less than 1. So basically I equals 0. What I want it to only do is just do the wall. Else, I want it to do that whole thing. So watch that I made that change. So it's only the first time. It's just going to draw that wall like we did and then nothing else. Let's see what this looks like. And again, this is an option for you. But stuff that we do later, you're going to probably not, when we add barriers and stuff, you might not always do the same thing to every wall. Oh my God, I hate Replets get slow sometimes. So notice here for the first time, okay, it's just going to draw that wall and then it does the whole bit. Now with my pattern, I have, okay, my first one's going to be 25. My next one is still going to be 20, it's going to be 10, it'll be the 40 plus 1050, and then this one will be 65. And then we're going to go to 80, so on. Okay, so this one was just shorter. Now, so you might get to a, so these are ways to do this, right? But what if I wanted to go back to my original size? I mean, this is going to be 95 and so on. I've kind of made things weird here. So I'm going to do a few things different. I'm going to go back to 15, right? Oh, I should go back to 15 anyways. I'm taking my time to show you things here, folks. So, yeah, skip ahead. If you're satisfied with how you want to do your wall, do it. So, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to do this bit here, but I'm not going to go for this whole wall length right here. So if you remember, we had that whole line, and you have your first bit's 10, and this bit's going to be the door length 15, and then this is the rest. But here's the thing. I wanted, before, like this second wall was 40, if I want to make sure this, so this first wall is not going to do a door. If I want to make sure this second wall is still 40, I got to do some math. If the first part was 10, and this part's 15, what's left for the rest? Well, 10, 40 minus 10 minus 15, so that's going to be 15. So I don't want to do this entire wall length. I'm trying to say we're going to be doing some math right here. I'm going to do that wall length, but I'm going to subtract that 10 and subtract the door length. And that's what I'm trying to build up to. So watch what it looks like now when I run this. Come on, please. I think I do it too fast sometimes. If I upgrade, is that gonna speed up? I almost would. So no, now it looks similar to the size of the maze that we had before. So I'm actually going to keep mine this way. All right. I want to keep that consistent, and this is going to help me later. We're going to be doing more math like this as we go along. So I'm happy. I have my doors 10 pixels off. No randomness net yet. So if you're following along at home, that's through step 6. Let's add those barriers. All right, I'm going to erase everything here. So if we want to add barriers, the idea with adding barriers is you just do, and then, so we look at the rules of the barriers. If you go down to step 7, they say place the barrier 40 pixels past the door. So like if it was, this is the door, maybe 40 pixels, a barrier would be, a barrier could be like, I don't know how many 40 pixels is. So maybe it's like here. And then 40 pixels past this door might be here. I don't know. And maybe 40 pixels. Maybe it lines up like this every time. But and then so you should see some kind of pattern forming like this. Very uniform, right? So a few things in here. If you're looking at this, they actually give you some help on determine the length. Okay, the first question. So, well, how long is this barrier going to be? Well, that's as long as this path. I don't know. We're going to guess and test a little bit. So I'm going to go barrier length. I have to make this. I'm guessing since that door's 15, let's say 40. Maybe it's 40. Maybe it's 30. I'm gonna try 30 for now. I think that's too small, but that's fine. Now, when you're drawing this line again, let's do some math, just like we did last time. We have our line, right? And then the first spot's gonna do 10, and then we're gonna do our door, which is 25. So this is 10, and then 40 pixels off should be wall, and then right here we put a barrier going off, and then rest of wall is the rest. So we put a barrier up there. And then right here, that's going to be barrier B. So that's kind of our pattern after each one of these. All right. And so what's that going to look like in here? A few other things. If you look in the help, look at step 8. Okay, if you don't know, it's like, how do you draw a barrier, right? So let's think about it if I was drawing this wall before we just look at the code. So there's my wall. Imagine I'm going down. I do the 10-foot. I jump, right, for the door, and then I do 40 pixels. And then I want to turn this way and draw a wall. So I'm going down first. I want to rotate left. So now that or rotate left. I'm going to draw this wall, like 30 pixels. Then I want to get back here. So what I can do is just go backwards, rotate back right, and then continue on. So that's one way to do this. And if you step 8, they basically give you that code right there. All right, a way of doing that. I'm going to do mine slightly different. So let's do this. I'm going to say, do I want barriers? I don't want barriers in the first wall. So let's say I put barriers here. Okay, where do I want to put barriers? Let's say I put it in here. I go forward 10, and I'm going to, I'm going to get ahead. So, spoilers. So what if I put barriers the first part, right? When do we want to start the barriers? We might not want to start them right away. That's what I want to say with this. is you might, because like this first wall, we do nothing, right? Are you going to put a barrier here? Well, barriers are supposed to go out. Ugh, jeez, that's like stupid. Barriers are supposed to go out like that. And there's really not going to be room to put a barrier down. Like this one, okay. I might, okay, so if I, oh no, excuse me. This one right here is going to have a barrier. But notice this side is probably not long enough. Our first side's 25. And then the next wall total length is 10 plus 15 plus 20 plus 40. Wait, 10 plus 15 plus 40 is going to be 25 plus 40, 65. But that's 40. That wall might just go right here. Yeah, let's try it though. Let's see what happens. So I want to go forward. I want to make the door, put it back down. I want to go walls dot forward, forward. And then I want to do that step to make the barrier. So I'm going to make the barrier. I'm gonna, for this, which says, hey, go left. So walls dot left, and this is the code. It's up there. I'm gonna go walls dot forward. I want to go forward. What barrier length? It's good to keep this a variable. And then I want it to go backwards. So you can say walls dot back if you want. Or I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do back. You can go like negative forward if you wanted to be weird. Yes, that's what I did. And then right. So made the barrier. Okay, maybe I'm just putting, I'm gonna say barrier done. I should probably just put it like this. Come on, let's do it that way. All right, and then I want to go forward. Well, let's see what this does. I'm kind of curious. Okay. So I erased everything. Run. Okay, so it did this and it drew. Okay, these look like they're going right. Some of these are going right, right? But notice I got too big again. Some of those barriers look great. Like, okay, this is off. This is off. Great. Wow, 30 was correct. I guess it's double the wall length. Well, good guess. I thought that'd be too short. So it worked except for the beginning. And part of it is the walls got too big because I didn't do this math again. So we have to do the math. It's the wall length, right? Just like we did last time. We have this 10, and we have the door for 25, the door. And we're going to have another 40 for a wall, and then with the barrier, and then this is the rest of the wall. So we have the rest should, if this total thing was supposed to be whatever, we have to subtract 10, 25, and 40 because we put that 40 there. So I'm going to subtract another 40. I can make it say minus 50, but I'm keeping that 40 for now. Just so that's consistent, so we can see that it's coming from both of those. All right? Let's see what that looks like. I think that should work. What is going on here? So the issue we're having, and I think it's because I don't want to do barriers at the start. So the first, okay, before I did barriers, oh, I should have kept this as a spreadsheet. It would have been nice. Before I had barriers, the first length was, wall was 25. The next one was 40 plus 15. No, it was, so the first one was 25, right? And then the next one's going to be 40 plus 10 plus 15. So it would be 65, and then it was always going up by 15. 80, then 95, and then 110, right? That was before. But now when I add the barriers in, my first one's still 25 because it's only doing this. But now when I'm doing the barriers, I went for 10 plus the door length, so 15 is 25, plus 40 was 65. And then, and so I went forward 65, and then I went forward, and then this was 65, and this was supposed to be wall length. Wall length is only supposed to be 40 at this point. Then I subtracted 50 and subtracted the door. I subtracted 65 from 40. So this is like negative 25. So this wall length ends up being negative 25. This is where I get the weird stuff. So what I'm saying with this is if you're getting weird stuff, we can't put barriers at every step. And I think they talk about this in the lesson. I think in step 9, it's like saying why you don't do barriers at every step. So I'm going to say, hey, the first 4, I don't want barriers in. Let's say that for now, right? Maybe you can do first 3. Let's try 3. I'm going to say, well, it's this code, but without the barrier. Okay, so I should have saved it, but let's see if I can recreate it. Okay, we know barriers in here. And then we take out this minus 40. So now when I'm doing this, so this is say, let's put comments. Wall with, okay, we'll just go plain wall. All right. And then the next one, this is going to be wall with door. And this will go wall with barrier and door. All right. So just the comments. Now let's see what happens. So I only had to I is less than 3 because this already checked for the case when I equals 0. So I don't need to like check for 0 here. I can say less than 3. Like I know one of the past lessons you had to like check both sides. I think the bronze, silver, and gold. But one way to avoid being forced to check both sides was just to do your if else's in an order where that. Okay, let's try 4. I hope I'm doing this right. Guess we gotta keep going. Why does that first one do that? After that's good. Oh, I didn't take this out. Duh. There we go. Some of you might have been watching that. There we go. So maybe I can try 3 again. So that's a case where sometimes saving your old code, if you're doing this, save different versions of your code like I do in my replit. I have a few different versions, and actually if you look at some of these, I have multiple. Like if you want to save a different version, but not have to like make a new replit, just add a file and say this could have been walls. You can make a .py so that like I should have, if I were to go back in time when I did that first thing, I would have just saved it as walls. But I'm not gonna redo this video. And then this could be with walls and then I would have done and doors. And then you can just save your code in here. It's like go back to those versions. And then I'm gonna say walls, barriers, doors. And only just run May, because that'll be a way to go back to different versions. Or if you want to say version 1, version 2, that's a good way to save it. And then when you want to run it, so what? You just have to copy and paste. So I got this working. This is pretty good. Now, one thing you might look at this and go, wait a minute, like this is a barrier in outer space, right? Like it's just going to outer space right here. Do I want to make for the purpose of this project, I'm not going to worry about that right now. Yeah, it's going to get weirder, don't worry. But for now, let's say, no, I don't want to. If you don't like this, which you could say, well, don't say 4. Let's go up to 5. Maybe. You know what? Let's make it look better. That looks weird for now. So I'm going to say, don't do those till 5. There. All right. So I'm going to like this code. So I'm going to copy it right here. I'm going to paste it in my walls, barriers, and doors to be referenced later, especially if I mess up things. All right. So now the fun part. We get to randomize all of this. And okay, this will get crazy. So I think you should pause and try this on your own. Try it. Now you got this base. Well, how would you randomize things? And start with one thing at a time. We want to randomize where the doors are and where the barriers are. All right? Because okay, it looks more, but that's the fun. It's different every time, right? Got this far, it's pretty good. So this is where you kind of want to plan some things out. Now, I, there's some help on there of what to do, but I didn't like the door width and stuff. And there's some hints. You can go through step 13. I'm looking right now. I'm looking at right now. Uh, okay, and I think it's good help. And then step 15, they show like an example of what it should look like. So I'm not. That kind of overwhelms me. So I'm gonna walk you through what I would do, and let's do this as steps. So if I do these as steps, the first thing I want to do is I want to randomize the doors. I'm going to go randomize doors. Random door. That's step 1. And then I'm going to go random the wall or the barrier. Random barrier. And then we're going to, so they talk about check for the weird stuff. So, and I'll show you what I mean by the weird stuff. So we'll do a few checks later. And really that means like, what if you have a door and a barrier at the same spot? Do you want that? I don't know. So let's randomize the doors. So first thing, I'm going to have to import random. And you're like, how do I do that again? And I go, oh, the list of Python commands that I've saved, right? So I go down to wherever this is. Where's my random stuff? Random? Really? Random? No, it was way up above. What did we do random? Did I do it? No. Maybe I could have. Random, there we go. So you want to import random as rand. Okay, and I'm in main again, so this will be a new version I save. So we got to import that. No, I don't want that. Ignore that. Leave. And I want to do random integers. So basically, I can do random integers and random choices, right? That's what I know how to do. Let's draw this out again. I'd always sketch this. You got your wall. So I want to put the door not at just 10. Before we just put it at 10, and we did the door for 25, the door for 15, and then we did the rest. Right? Now what we want to do, so that was before. We had static numbers. Now I want to have a random, let's say I set a random number off. So this is going to be a random number. And then I'm going to have, and that could be whatever length, and then we're going to have our door. And then we have to do the rest. Right? Well, we have a random thing. We can call, you even call this a variable. So if we want to get into math here, this can be your x. And then you have your door. That's length of 15. How much is the rest going to be? I'm going to say it's the rest minus x and minus 15. It's all math again. That's why we did that math before. So let's say if we randomize these doors. I don't have doors right here. Let's say in this one I have doors, right? And then we will add it to the code to here later. I want to, every time I loop through, I got to generate a random door. So, and we're not going to do a forward 10. So let's generate random. And let's call this, I want to call it X. I kind of want to call it X. I'm just going to call it X because I just did there. Bad variable name, It's the wall distance out, but it's X. We're going to call it rand.rand int. Isn't that how I do it? Oh, yep. And we want to go some distance to some max. Oh, okay. And the question is, okay, what's your maximum, right? What's your minimum? Do I want a minimum of 10? Okay. Maybe I want a minimum of 10. Maybe a minimum of 0. I don't know. Maybe 0. Yeah, who cares? And then now there is a max. So the max should be probably the wall length, right? Because this wall length represents my maximum as I'm doing this. This is the max the wall should be. So it's not the rest part. I mean, so maybe I just want to go out to wall length. Okay. So maybe you say that. All right. And so then I want to go forward. X. Go forward door length. And then I'm subtracting not 10. Subtract that. Right? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get rid of, watch this. I don't, I'm going to get rid of this stupid, no. I'm going to leave this code. Okay, this is for testing right now. Well, I is less than 50, 500. I don't want to put barriers in at all, right? I want to see what this looks like just putting these doors in. So getting rid of the barriers, because that's just too many things to worry about, right? So if you do this little bit here, did I mess up something? Oh, I want to see what this looks like with just the doors. This looks weird. Okay, did randomize these doors all over? Did that look weird? Why does it do this and that? I'll tell you why. Like, ew, now it did a little bit here where it's going too far. Here's why. This comes out to that random number. So what if, notice here that for this line, it starts here. This door ended up being at like the very end of the line. I said to wall length, right? But the door has a length too. So for example, if your whole line for a wall was, let's say it was at 80 length, right? And what if your X value became 70, right? So you'd go out to like 70, and then you'd put in your door, and your door would be 15, but now you're at 85, and then it's supposed to do the rest. And then it does the wall length minus X, and does 80 minus 70 minus 15, it does -5, and so you get a big mess right there. So this was the problem. I didn't consider that. You can't go to the full wall length. What do? We gotta look and subtract that door length. So there you go. Because there's a minimum there, or there's a maximum. So I can't do all that. All right. So let's erase all this. Let's run this again. It takes forever. All right. So let's see what that does. Erase. Let's do it. There you go. Keeping track of that math gets tough, especially like if you take a break and come back later. Oh boy. I have random doors now. And try that. Maybe I run it again. just to make sure. It looks good to me. Sick. Awesome. So, I want it to also be random here. So, I'm going to say, alright, so we have to edit this code. Random wall length, and we say go forward X. Alright, and then it goes forward, and then it's just going to make this barrier. So, I have this working. This is so, no, this is where it gets complicated. You're like, wait a minute. And I'm like, oh, I have this forward. So that's how you, okay, we know how to randomize at least those, right? Okay, we did those. Good job. Now I want to put this random spot in. So I want to put this in, go forward, and put that forward length. Let's say if I just did this, what happens? And then, oh, I don't subtract 10, I subtract X. I mean, you probably, because we're going forward this 40, you probably know this is going to be a disaster. Yeah, it gets to become a disaster because the math doesn't work out with this. So we have a random spot here. And the problem is then we have to go 40 out from that door. What if we don't go 40 out? What if we go another random number out? We're going to say y. Rand dot random integer. Let's say we're not going 40 out. Let's say, hey, 0 to 40. Sure. Or maybe 0 to the rest of the door. Let's say 0 to 40 here. I just want some kind of randomization. And then I want to go forward y. I want to do this. And I'm going to start 40 and start y. See what that does. This might work. So it is. But that was weird. That didn't work out perfectly. We do have the issue where, remember if the barrier was like the door appeared at the end and then it went out 40 and then did this barrier and then it just got messed up. So there's a bunch of test cases here. Now, as I'm going through this, there's definitely different ways to approach this, folks. So I'm going to say I can't go to 40. What I'm going to say something different instead. What if I say after I place the door, I just want it to be some random spot after that door, right? Anywhere on the wall. Let's not limit it to 40. So it's going to be, we're going to do some math. It's the rest of the wall. So if I draw this thing again, oh, I wish I could just do lines. I don't want to pay you yet. Maybe I'll pay you. So we have this X, we have 15, we have Y, and then we're going to have the rest. All right. And the Y is where I put my barrier. And so the position for Y should be the rest minus 15 minus X. I think that's what I want. So I'm actually doing the rest, which is called wall length, minus 15 minus X. The weirdness is, would this ever be 0 or less than 0? I don't know. I think because we're going past 5, I think we're gonna be okay. Like that's the only thing that kind of scares me with that code. But I bet because we're so far out, it's not going to be an issue. So here we go. This just starts looking gross, right? I mean, some of these barriers, you're like, what? like what? This, like a lot of these are worthless. But notice, okay, so for following this one, we have this door appears and then it randomized, boom. This door and then it randomized right next to it. This door randomized at the end. This door, okay, like super next to it. The early door, then random out here. So it worked. Um, okay, so that works. Hey, it's random. But so I actually did both these. But let's refine this. Does the way of this code is the barrier is always after the door, but can't it be before the door sometimes? Yeah. How do we do that? Okay, and this is where it gets weird. If you want to make your code do this, hey, I don't know, but okay, I'm gonna do weirder stuff, right? And I think they ask you about this. A barrier, barrier. It says in here, step 14. Barrier might render in a weird place. It's not gonna be perfect. Um, like this one. See how this barrier is legit, but it ran into this door? You're like, but we can't. Figuring that out is kind of beyond the scope because you can't. I mean, we could, but we're not going to do that math. That's going to make us cry. So, what we're going to want to do if we want to compensate for if a barrier should be before that is they kind of give you some hints in step 13. But let's think of this. Let's just say, well, what's going to be first? One way to do this is let's flip a coin, heads or tails. Heads, then we go with the door, we go with the door first. Tails, we go with the barrier first. How do we flip a coin in Python? Okay, do an else if. So inside this else, we're going to have I'm going to do another if else. If we're going to make a random number. If random, we can go 0 or 1. Rand dot rand int between 0 and 1. If that equals 1, and what we're going to do here, we're going to go door, then barrier. So if that random is 1, I want you to do all of that. Else, and then this stands for barrier. And we're going to just reverse the order in this stuff. So that's how I do this thing. Ugh, squirrel, get ugly. Okay, so I'm going to say, not mixing up my X's and Y's. I'm going to do this first. Wait, maybe this doesn't get ugly. Maybe I can just do that. Random, oh. Okay, so, this is going to be slightly different. We just have to subtract 15. Wait, no, not even 15. Yeah, we should, because that's for the door. We should still subtract the 15 to compensate for the door, so make sure we have room. All right. Oh, did I not do, oh, I did that over here, yeah. Oh, I shouldn't have done 15, I should have done door length. My bad. Door length. Let's use the variables we created. And then go forward, make the barrier. Okay, and then we're gonna make the door, so this shouldn't be wall minus door length minus that y, right? And then we go forward, door length, that, and then this should work. And hopefully that works. That's like 50-50 coin flip right there. Wait, does that actually work? Yeah, 0 to 1. I don't know if it includes the last number. Okay, so let's see if it did. Barrier for this one, first line, barrier then door, barrier then door, barrier then door. This one doesn't seem to have a barrier, but it might be like buried in the, might have just got into the wall. Barrier then door. Door then barrier. Okay, door then barrier. Okay. Barrier, door, door, barrier. Okay, so it is randomizing. Hey, yeah, this stuff looks weird here, right? This is weird. This is weird. If you want to get rid of that weirdness, so this is, I think I just did this. Looks good. Man, this is cleaner than the first time I did this. So let's check for the weirdness. I'm gonna clear my screen. Oh no. So yeah, let's check for the weirdness. So if you want to get rid of like this kind of weirdness, well, how long is this gap right here? Maybe I say I don't want to put a barrier. Maybe I don't want to put a barrier in here. Maybe I want it to be here. Remember, this gap is going to be the barrier length right here. So that barrier length, the 30 pixels out, we say don't put barriers in that. So how can I do that? What I could do is, you know, maybe you want to check in when you create the barriers, you don't go out that far. So I can go barrier length. I don't know if this breaks anything. I'm factoring another number. Might break stuff. I don't know if it's going to break stuff. Maybe I subtract barrier length right here. So I say, hey, I don't want those doors to go out that far. Like, and I don't, oh, I want to, oh, so here's the thing. If the barrier was first, I'd want to add the barrier so that it skips past the first 30 pixels, right? But if it was going to be at the end, I want to subtract that barrier length so it's not going to go out that far. And something cried. Called barrier length. Oh, line 52. 52. Oh, so what ended up happening is this became a negative number. Whew. Okay, so if I add barrier here, I think I have to add barrier here too. Subtract barrier. And this is where it gets harder. So you could have these, I bet that's just it like randomized into a really bad number. So if I'll watch this, let's see how far it gets before it gives me an error. I think that's just one of those, because I'm dealing with a lot of random stuff. If I'm not careful, even that didn't even work out right. Honestly, yeah, and then it just gave me an issue. So I'm not even going to put that in. I think that's causing problems. I mean, you can do the math on that. I'll show you some other way I did it later, but no. Last part of this, for this video is, so I'm going to save this. I'm going to take all my code. Laws, barriers. Okay, so we're going to call this random.py. Maybe I don't want to call it random, but oh well, I did. Okay, so last time I want to do efficiency. So what they mean by efficiency is like, hey, you see this part of the code that's like repeated? Maybe I can make those functions. So a few things like when you draw the door, so maybe I want to draw the door because like I repeat it whenever you're in your code, you're trying to make this more efficient or easier to read because this is looking like a mess, right? But you see there's parts of the code that I repeat. So maybe I want to just make those a functions. Draw a door. Now, notice whenever I draw the door, I am doing these steps, right? Or am I doing more than that? Yeah, I'm just doing these steps. See how it's like a group of like 5 lines? So what I can do is just, I can even pull in that variable x and watch this. Oh, I don't even pull in the variable x. No, because I just need to save it to, oh, so careful if I'm doing this because because I need to save this to use the map later. So I'm actually not, I'm gonna just do all these 4 lines. Just do these 4 lines, right? And it pulls in the variable x. So instead of doing all this, I want to do draw door. Maybe you didn't put the x variable in. Maybe you just put in these 3 lines. That's what I did the first time. That'd be fine. So I'm going to draw a door and pull in x. The reason I want to keep the x out here is because I know I'm going to use it here. I could have like said x equals draw a door. No, don't do that. No, I'm not going to do that. You can like return variables with functions, but I don't think we did that in this class yet. Don't worry about that. So every time that I use draw door, instead going to change it. So this is about making it more efficient. Just fewer lines and like you don't, and like, so if I wanted to change how the door was drawn for some reason, I'd only have 1 spot to go. I'm going to define the draw barrier. Now, barrier, so I had make barrier, right? I think this is going to be my make barrier stuff. So there's the barrier, and I do it here. So I do it 2 times. I actually do walls forward. So I can just do this whole thing. I mean, you could probably even drag more, but I'm just going to do this for now. Okay, and then I go Shift Tab to pack that up twice. I'm going to make the barrier. I don't need to say that anymore. It's whatever. So draw barrier, I'm going to have the variable y is going to be brought in, right? So all of this stuff is going to change to draw barrier y. Oh, I don't even need the walls forward then. So I got. So I can just change all this to draw barrier. Cool. So now I kind of made the code a little bit smaller. I left the forwards. I might have been able to drag these in too, but I don't want to mess with things. So I made it a little bit more efficient with some functions. Let's see what it does. What? Line 2. What did I do? X? Did I not can't copy something right? I, I, line 2? Line 20. Wait, no. 21. Oh. Because I called this random.py. Oh, don't call this random. Because that's actually a thing. So I want to go random. I guess when I call these py, they actually add these libraries in. Oh, I might not want to do that. Don't put the py. Maybe that was the problem. Okay, no. Just don't call it random, because that's actually a thing. Because that, you're importing these random, because it's called random, it was importing that random instead of like the Python's turtle. Python's random. Ooh, yeah. Okay, so what was the point of all that? Just to make sure it still works. Sure. And it looks like it's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, you can make it more efficient. You can get rid of the weirdness of the lines, but I'll leave that up to you to do. All right? I think we're done. This is part 1. Part 2, we'll do the runner. See you later. 1 hour. Jeez. Sorry.